Namo Amida Bu. Happy New Year, everybody. I want to share something with you. I've talked about in other videos how there will be times when memories from the past will come like a herd of elephants and just basically assault me. And suddenly I will find my mind filled with old hatreds and resentments toward people who have said and done things to me in the past, whether they were co-workers or managers or family members or someone at a checkout line or a clerk in a retail store. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. It could be someone passing on the street who cusses you out because you're wearing a mask or not wearing a mask or whatever. And I've had a pretty good week. I've been pretty chilled. I've been off for most of this week. Was feeling a little under the weather for a while, but I'm back to normal. Normal for me. It's a very ambiguous thing. But I didn't sleep well last night. And for no apparent reason, all of these memories of all of these different people, co-workers, past managers, past co-workers, family members, random people who had said and done unforgivably crappy things to me throughout the course of my life, going all the way back to childhood. And of course I didn't remember everything that happened to me, but just trigger situations. And I just found myself laying there, trying to sleep, trying to let go, just feeling all of this hatred, all of this resentment, and just thinking about the state of humanity. And this is the interesting part. This is not the part I want to harp on. What I want to harp on is that all of a sudden, my focus changed and it had dissipated. All this hatred, all this resentment, all this fear, all this doubt, all this sense of outrage for injustices done by a plethora of people throughout the course of my life, I just realized it had just dissipated like smoke, like steam hitting the air and just dissipating. And I, of course, began reciting Nembutsu in gratitude for this. And it hit me what Josho Adrian talks about over and over in his posts, on his blogger page, on his other media sites, in his videos. We are living in an ephemeral dream. And these thoughts we have that we think at the time we're having them, they're so concrete and we need to act on them. These are like clouds. These are like, life is like a bubble in a stream. Our life is like the morning dew. Once the sun comes, it just vanishes. And I just realized these are just thoughts. But at the time you're embroiled in these thoughts, at the time you're caught up in all of these things, you relive all these moments you've gone through in the past, these hatreds, these resentments, the sense of being wronged, the sense of injustice. And there's a part of you that feels like, you know, this shoulda, woulda, coulda been different. But it wasn't. It turned out the way it did. And so you relive the feeling of hatred, being pissed off, being angry. And at the time you're reliving it, it's real. At the time you're going through it, this is a crisis situation. Even though it may have happened a long time ago, you're thinking, oh man, you know, life sucks. People suck. I hate people. And then a couple of seconds pass and your monkey mind is off to something completely and totally different. And you realize these thoughts that were so important to you, these emotions, these feelings, these past memories, it's a nothing burger. They're not even there anymore. This is an amazing and revolutionary thing for me. This is amazing to me, and I love this. Because this morning, in the wee hours of the morning, when I couldn't sleep, I realized that thoughts don't really mean anything. I mean, yes, that's how we think, but it also makes me think about why there's so many Karens and so many people freaking out and attacking other people in the news. Violent, horrible crimes. People freaking out on planes once they get drunk. It's because the slightest thought can come into your head, and suddenly at that moment, especially I guess if you're inebriated, that is everything and you need to act on it. Your entire identity belongs to that situation. Whether someone's not wearing a mask, or someone's wearing a mask, or someone's looking at you funny, or suddenly your mind formulates this whole scenario, this whole storyline that's non-existent, that is nothing more than a projection of your thoughts on something that might not even be a situation, but you perceive it as a situation. In other words, clouds. And what are clouds? They're mist that formulates, and from afar they look substantial and fluffy and even ominous. But they drift. They have no substance. They're nothing more than water vapor. The same with our thoughts that we put so much stock in. And of course you hear all the politics, and you see all the madness, and you see all the insanity. You see basically, especially if you live in my country, the breakdown of our so-called societal values, which in many cases can be a good thing as well as a bad thing. But they're thoughts. When I was a New Ager, I used to, excuse me, Happy New Year. When I was a New Ager, I used to follow these things that would put so much emphasis on thoughts, like The Secret. That was a big thing back in the day. There was a DVD called The Secret, and a book as well. And it talked about how important your thoughts and your perceptions were. And by controlling your thoughts, you could call forth from the cosmos anything you wanted: wealth, friendship, relationships, happiness. And of course, I definitely jumped on board. And needless to say, it failed miserably, because that's what happens when you use your unenlightened mind to basically turn yourself into a god. It falls flat on its ass. You know, the best laid plans of mice and men. It didn't work out. And so the search continued on my spiritual path. And of course, you know the story. Here I am, Namo Amida Bu. But so many people are into that. I only want to think positive thoughts. If I think positive thoughts, I will have a wonderful day. I've tried that so many times in the past. And of course, inevitably, and I say there's always that one asshole, but not always. Given what I went through last night, there doesn't really need to be a reason for you to have crazy thoughts or to project onto a random person or a random situation your narrative, because you are seeing things through your eyes. You're seeing things through your perception. This, again, I think is why there are so many people going completely nuts. We're going through the breakdown of society here in the United States of America, just speaking as someone who lives in the United States of America. And so a lot of people just freak out because they don't know what else to do. That person offended me. For whatever reason, that person offended me. I've got to gain control of that situation, so I need to deal with that person. And of course, it's a catastrophe. You read the news. It's a horrible catastrophe every single time. Usually the person who acts on their thoughts ends up in such a manner, ends up getting arrested. My thoughts are clouds. My thoughts are like the steam rising from this cup of tea. It's a very cold day here in Houston. It's in the 30s. And that's after having weather that's been comfortably in the 70s and 80s during winter. Typical winter here in Houston, Texas. And so I'm sitting here enjoying my favorite gunpowder green tea. But I'm very happy I went through what I went through last night. I'm very happy that I was tossing and turning. And I guess maybe what triggered it was the new year. Today, as I make this video, it is now January the 2nd, 2022. And yesterday was New Year's Day. And I don't know, maybe that was just my mind's way of doing a recap or a mini recap of my strange and tumultuous life. Either way, I'm glad it happened. Because in the past, my first instinct, my natural instinct would be, this is a problem. I need to fix this problem. And then again, I think that's why you have so many Karen and Brad, I guess they call them the guys Brads, incidents. Because people feel they have to fix what's going on around them based on what's going on in their head. Because in our society, we're taught that thoughts are very real. If you think negative thoughts about that person, you're going to create conflict with that person. That's what The Secret told me. That book, that video, that DVD that I watched. You know, you've got to control your thoughts. Thanks be to Amida Buddha for Jodo Shinshu teaching, because it teaches the total opposite. We are here in this Saha realm in order to ripen our karma so that we can be open to receiving Amida's gift of Shinjin. Shinjin is simple faith in Amitabha Buddha. It is a knowing. And once one receives it, like I have, you realize it is not something you can create in yourself through your thoughts, through your unenlightened thoughts. Because you're unenlightened. It comes as a gift from Amitabha Buddha, a real living entity, a real living Buddha. And once you have that encounter, you realize Amitabha Buddha is a real living Buddha, and therefore his Pure Land is a real, actual place. Maybe not as we can comprehend it, but it is real nonetheless. It is not a myth. It is not a fantasy. There may be myths and fantasies about Amitabha and the Pure Land created by human beings, but that doesn't make Amitabha and the Pure Land a myth. They are very real. This is what Shinjin is. It is a knowing that this Buddha and this Pure Land is real, and a knowing that because of this knowledge that you cannot have on your own, because the human unenlightened mind cannot believe such things. Indeed, they think that believing that Amitabha Buddha and his Pure Land is real is a preposterously childish thing to do. And I guess based on unenlightened Saha human thinking, it is. But Buddhas transcend Saha human thinking. Enlightened Buddhas transcend the barriers and the impediments that we have to deal with in this unenlightened realm. And the Saha realm is created due to our unenlightened consciousness, both individually and as a whole. And I speak not just of the human beings living here, but the hell beings, the ghosts, the animals, the unseen world and the seen world. And once again, thank you for the teaching of Amitabha Buddha Thank you, Amitabha Buddha, for your teaching, for your Jodo Shinshu teaching that teaches me that this Saha realm is a dream. It is a blade of grass. It is a bubble in a stream. It's not real. Only one who has blown out the candle of ignorance and become an awakened one, an enlightened being, aka an enlightened Buddha, like Amitabha Buddha, can see things as they are. And I think that's our frustration. We think the crap in our head is real. We think the events in our life are oh so important. But and I've been thinking about it because I'm getting older, hair's getting thinner, beard's getting whiter. This life is a bubble in a stream. And you can look at a bubble in a stream and it looks like a jewel. It's beautiful, clinging onto the algae in a stream. And then suddenly, poof, it rises and it seems to vanish before it even hits the surface of the pond or lake or stream. And if you think about it, guys, that's what our life is. And I'm not being negative when I say this. This is a very good thing. I don't want to stay here forever. I don't want to be like the crazy elites running this country who go through these life hacks to keep themselves alive and youthful. I like being old, thank you very much. I like the fact that things are slowing down for me. Let everyone else bitch about old age. I love it. It's great. I love the look. I love the mindset. Nothing really matters that much. I'm grateful for everything I have. I have dear friends. I have a YouTube channel where I have the wonderful opportunity to share my experience as a man of faith, as a man of Shinjin, as a disciple of the living Buddha Amitabha. I have a wonderful job. And like any job, it's a four-letter word. I mean, work is a four-letter word. Job is not a four-letter word. But work is a four-letter word. And I would love to be retired right now, but I'm not. But the bills are paid. My life is simple. I'm happy. About as happy as anyone can be in the Saha realm. So do I put my faith in the new year? Do I put my faith in making New Year's resolutions? No, of course not. That's stupid. Life changes from minute to minute. Why set myself up with false expectations? I don't know. Nor, quite frankly, do I care all that much what's going to happen. And that, too, I feel is a gift from Amida. At least I perceive this outlook that I now have as an older man as a gift from Amida. I don't take myself or even my life that seriously. I am grateful for where I'm at right now. I have Amitabha Buddha. This is the most precious gift anyone can have in their life, is a relationship with Amitabha Buddha. There is no greater honor than to call myself a disciple of Amitabha Buddha. This is a precious gift that has made my life infinitely better. The quality of my life has increased by leaps and bounds because of my relationship with Amitabha Buddha. As I've said before, he is my joy. He is my happiness. And so I want to leave you with that. Don't take yourself or your thoughts too seriously. Do what you have to do. You're here in this dream. You're a part of this dream. But just be yourself. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to be enlightened. That's Amitabha's job. That's Amida Buddha's job. Amida Buddha, Amitabha, has created his pure land to bring people like me to enlightenment. And by people like me, I mean people who lay in bed trying to sleep and can't because they remember a bunch of crap from the past. Obviously, that's not an enlightened person. I can't use my unenlightened consciousness, my unenlightened mind, to enlighten myself. I don't care how many koans I recite, I don't care how many mind tricks I play. It's just like taking a loop of yarn and twisting around my finger. It's going to go nowhere. It may break if I play with it too much. So, all the important things in my life and the unimportant things in my life, like my thoughts, I entrust to Amitabha Buddha. What's important to me is not fixing myself, but living a life of gratitude. And I have more to be grateful for than most, because I have a relationship with Amitabha Buddha. Namo Amida Bu.